Today, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into some of the technology and some of the latest and greatest features and those that are coming that are going to help steer your purchasing decisions. As always, those purchasing decisions can be enlightened upon by calling us at 800-323-2325, or we can put you in touch with a local integrator in your area. If you're already working with an AV integrator, maybe you have someone that's done your audio control panels or your lighting rig throughout your house of worship, let's talk to them. Let's include them in the conversation. There's a very good chance they're already getting involved in the live production stuff. And if they're not, we can be a valuable resource, as our manufacturers can be as well. If you saw James Liu from Canon talk about what he does with Canon and how he works with houses of worship, integrators, ourselves, and everyone else in between to make sure that project is designed from top to bottom. We also heard from Craig Yanagi at JVC, talking about how JVC has all these capabilities and features available as well. And today, we're going to have a great segment where Paul Richards at PTZ Optics talking about everything that PTZ Optics can do and how their affordable cameras can really fit into a lot of houses of worship and why they're so popular in the industry. What I'm going to focus on today are top 5 technology considerations facing your church. The first is going to be hybrid. And when I talk about hybrid, I'm talking about flexibility. There are a lot of different ways to define what hybrid means, and we're going to talk about all of those. But really, at the end of the day, what we're looking for is to give your church the right equipment to be as flexible as possible. You may be streaming everything from a Sunday service routinely, week in and week out, to a special event like a wedding, a bar mitzvah, a baptism. Those are going to have very different production needs than your routine events. The more flexible you can be, the better all your productions are going to look. We're going to talk about AV over IP, NDI technology, Dante Audio and Dante AV technology, SMPTE 2110, and more. IP technology is really going to be something that your church is going to want to learn more about and really dive deeply into. We're going to talk about audio and lighting. I am neither an audio guy or a lighting person, but we're going to talk about how these play in to your video production needs. Because you can have the best video production in the world. If the audio is not good, or if the lighting is not good, it is going to detract from your message. We're going to talk about mounts, rigs, and motion, and all of the technology that's available now to give you more capabilities and more options, quite frankly, than ever before. And then, of course, the biggest buzzword in any industry right now, we're going to talk about AI technology and how artificial intelligence is going to change the production landscape in the future and what that means for you and your purchase decisions today. So let's jump right into it. Hybrid equals flexibility. A lot of people will translate a hybrid environment the way they did just a few short years ago, where you knew you had to reach your audience remotely outside the building. Well, now you're reaching your audience remotely outside the building along with your parishioners in the building itself. This is the hybrid workflow that we're talking about, and you need to understand that building that message is not always going to be the same. What works in your building is not going to be the same as reaching your audience in their home. You want to make sure that you are able to zoom in on a speaker to get major parts that they're trying to emphasize. You want to make sure that you pull out wide when the choir starts going into a hymn so that your audience can react to the singing and the emotion and everything that happens. You want to make sure that you're leveraging the right platforms for your message. It could be a dedicated RTMP service like Easy Worship or WorshipStreamTV. It could be a social media platform like Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok. We know how challenging it is for houses of worship to go after younger audience members and to bring them into the congregation. It should be broadcasting services online that extends the church reach beyond your physical pews. This should be a youth basketball league that plays in your church's gymnasium. It could be any one of these many things that involves your community into your program itself. And now, by fostering that interactive communications, the comments, the streams, the social sharing, you are able to extend your reach. I know I've spoken to my own local churches where we've done community food drives. And by having that information shared through social media channels, we are hitting levels of success today that we have not been able to come close to in years past. Hybrid also means a flexible workflow. It's not just talking about the parishioners who are in the building or outside remotely. In this case, I'm using the word hybrid to talk about the actual camera equipment being used. And Gary talked a lot about this on yesterday's show, mixing and matching PTZ cameras with handheld camcorders, allowing you to put the right camera into the right production to capture the right piece to send to your audience. And maybe it's capturing the right footage to post-produce a nice little highlight reel that you're going to air during a donor party at the end of the year. Or maybe it's something that you're going to use in a recruitment video as you start looking to grow your congregation. Or maybe it's something that you pack up and send to one of your one of your church members on a mission trip so they can share remotely to other people in other parts of the world the great message that you're sharing with your audience day in and day out. Hybrid also talks about the production capabilities. Now, in this use of the word hybrid, I'm talking about producing your content inside the building, but also having that production being able to be controlled anywhere outside the building. You'll see here I have a picture of the VizOT Flex Control Panel. The Flex Control Panel allows me to set up a full production control panel anywhere in the world and control a TriCaster that is producing your stream in the congregation. If you have a house of worship with multiple buildings across the state area, you might have limited volunteer resources in one building, but have ample resources in another. You can set up a remote production system where you have one technical director broadcasting and controlling your 9 a.m. Mass in the larger building and your 10 a.m. Mass in another church halfway across the state or even across the country or across the world. It also allows you to produce video coming in from your congregation anywhere they might be. I'll go back to a common scenario, even in a sports application, where you can now even broadcast and control the production at an away game. So now when your youth community team is playing in a local stadium or someplace outside of your building, you can broadcast that as well. The next tip I want to talk about is AV over IP. So this is really the second technical aspect and probably the biggest concern that a lot of churches are talking about today. One of the biggest things we see in this industry is, quite honestly, there are a lot of beautiful, beautiful architectural buildings. There are a lot of historical buildings. And the last thing you want to do is take a camera, run a power cable, run a network cable, run a control cable, and now have all these cables being snaked through and run through this historic, meaningful architecture. AV over IP allows you to take a single Cat6 cable and run that to your camera to get your video and audio, to get your power over the Ethernet, and to get your control capability all through that single cable. In some parts of the country, that also means that you can work directly with your AV integrator to do all of these cable runs and to connect all of your cameras. You don't have to wait for them to bring in a separate subcontractor who is a licensed electrician to run high voltage wiring. A lot of AV integrators have installers on staff that are certified to run Cat6 cabling everywhere that's needed. That is a major consideration of both time and cost. Now, when you connect your video sources with a single Cat6 cable, and you're able to run power to those sources, and you're able to control the PTZ cameras, or even the color shading and matching on a non-PTZ stationary camera, you can do all of that through AV over IP. When we talk about this, there are several protocols to talk about. The first, and probably the most popular, at least from our point of view, is NDI. NDI was built and developed by NewTek, now VizRT, and is an open source platform that a lot of people can develop and include in their own products. NDI is a standard for transmitting video, audio, and even control all over that IP network signal. There are a couple different flavors of NDI technology. There is NDI full bandwidth, which requires an NDI chip like there is in bird dog cameras or other full bandwidth cameras that are out there. There is NDI HX, the latest version of which is NDI HX3. HX3 now allows you a high efficiency NDI transmission with very little latency. It's getting better and better with every generation. And these are available in a lot of the cameras, production systems, and other products, and even converters for your existing cameras that we've talked about throughout the week. The next is one that you may have heard from an audio application already existing in your house of worship, and that's Dante. Dante is well known for being a standard in an audio over IP protocol. Well, Dante has developed their AV protocol now as well, and this is Dante AV. Like NDI, Dante AV is also available in a few different flavors. There is Dante AV Ultra. This would be their equivalent of a high bandwidth connection with the lowest latency of any of the versions out there. There is Dante AVA and Dante AVH. These are high efficiency, lower bandwidth signals with very low latency that can be sent across your Dante devices. PTZ Optics has taken their PTZ cameras and have created NDI-HX models and Dante AVH models, perfect for any install. If you're a house of worship already working with a system integrator that put in a Dante audio system, the Dante AVH is a great conversation to have with them today. The assumption, of course, is that that system integrator has already achieved certain levels of Dante certifications and can help optimize your network to take advantage of the new AVH and AV Ultra protocols. Next is another IP protocol that Panasonic has incorporated in their Panasonic KAIROS system. Panasonic KAIROS has really adapted the SMPTE ST2110 standard, which is a broadcast standard for AV over IP. This is the standard that the SMPTE organization has given their stamp of approval for replacing SDI workflows. This means that you're getting your audio and video, control capability, and more all over that Cat6 connection. The Panasonic KAIROS is a great production system to work in these IP environments, but also plays very well in your traditional SDI or HDMI environments. And one of the things I want to point out for a house of worship that does not yet have a video production switcher of any kind, where you're looking into the switching capability, you're looking into signage and audio and video routing throughout the building, you're looking into iMag, the Panasonic KAIROS system and the way they handle their productions across large canvases might be a good solution for you to look at, where you can make a great investment into your house of worship today that can grow well beyond whatever needs you can anticipate well into the future. The next thing I wanted to point out was your audio and lighting. I cannot talk about tech tips and technologies without pointing out how important audio and lighting has to be. Again, I used the disclaimer at the beginning of the show. I will say it again. I am neither an audio or a lighting person, but I know they're important. And that means I'm going to go find the resources to make sure that they're integrated into my production application. I have to mention my biggest tech tip here is that neither of these can be overlooked in any way, shape, or form. The audio that has worked for you inside of your building may not be the same audio that you need to reach a stream out to your remote audience in that hybrid workflow we were talking about before. You may need a separate audio setup, some additional mics, and you want to make sure the audio is clean to your audience at home. Another thing that I want to point out is the same is true for lighting. You can have really beautiful stage lighting, and the people that are inside your building, the congregation that is sitting in the pews, are going to see all the different hues, the beautiful purples, pinks, magentas, you name it, and it's really going to add to the overall production quality. That lighting does not always translate well over a live stream, over video to your audience. So now, as you're starting to create a hybrid workflow where both become equally important, you're going to have to make different decisions on how things are lit. One of the things I've seen is that when the choir starts to sing, there are special spotlights that come up that light that choir and provide backlight to that choir that adds the depth to the video production. When this preacher is standing in front of the pulpit, there is a separate set of lighting that now focuses in on that. And now the traditional stage lighting and surround lighting lights up the rest of the area to create the same emotion and vibe you were going for before, but still gives you the focus you need for the cameras to get the best possible quality to send online. And that leads us perfectly into some of the different mounts, rigs, and motion capability available as well. We worked with a manufacturer called MRMC, Mark Roberts Motion Control. They started in the Hollywood industry creating all of these really elaborate rigs for George Lucas and Lucasfilms in order to get the movement needed from that camera. These are being used now in a lot of houses of worship to add additional production moves. The more movement you can add, the more you can reach that audience engagement. The more you can take a PTZ camera that is capable of moving back and forth or up and down and now have a sweep across the room as well on a rail-mounted system, it gives you another level of capability. A lot of times we call this the X, Y, and Z axis, allowing you that extra level of control. And any control that you can add with MRMC rails from a horizontal perspective on a rail mount, you can now add on a vertical perspective with some of their standing systems as well. If you want to reach that next level, if there's a production that you're looking to build from these PTZ cameras and you want to create these production moves, really, your heart's desire, these products are available and can allow you to get the look that really helps in your productions. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was AI technology. Embracing AI technology for the future. There are a lot of things that AI technology is already starting to do in the production world today. One of the things we talked about a lot on the show yesterday, Gary even showed off a demo video of auto tracking. Auto tracking of a PTZ camera as you move back and forth across the stage is a phenomenal tool that is getting better with every generation of camera and every generation of software as it comes out. When you start moving back and forth across the stage, this AI capability is going to use facial recognition to now lock in on the main pastor as he moves back and forth even if other people are on stage with him. There's a lot of different capabilities and a lot of different things you can do. Autofocus. We're already seeing in corporate boardrooms where cameras are able to zoom in and focus on the person at the conference table who is speaking. How can this apply to a house of worship? Imagine a community meeting where you can get that same capability. Imagine a Sunday service where when someone walks up to a speaker's podium, like a podium I'm standing in front of now, the camera automatically goes through their preset motions and goes to that speaker as they begin to talk. And then they cut from that speaker to the choir or back to the main reverend. Sound recognized presets can all help lead these movements, as well as the camera rigs and productions that we've talked about. Or anything that you are doing behind a production system today, anything that a human being says go from camera 1 to camera 2, there is going to be AI technology that makes some of these decisions for you. It could be as simple as, I've held this shot for too long. Let me go to another camera. Boom. And that camera is pulled and it's done. It's not going to replace human interaction. It's going to complement and make the human job that much easier. I say embrace it. It's where we're going today. So if we review some of the technology that we talked about your hybrid environments, in church and remote, production from a remote facility, or even hybrid equipment in combining PTZ cameras with handheld cameras. We talked about AV over IP, whether that means NDI or NDI-HX, whether it means Dante or Dante AVH, whether it means SMPTE 2110. When you take these AV over IP protocols and you combine that with PoE for power over Ethernet, and you have all of that put together, it allows you to have the simplest installs and therefore the most flexibility throughout your building. We talked about audio and lighting. We talked about mounts, rigs, and motion, and how the future of AI technology is already starting to take advantage of all of this today and will do even more in the future.